Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you are ready to go. Welcome to the Simply I Can Win show. Today is day 7 of our 14 days on purpose program. And in today's video, specifically in today's live, we're going to be speaking about knowledge, what you know and how that relates to your purpose. Now, the funniest thing is there are so many people who prior to yesterday's live would have thought that knowledge was a good thing as it pertains to their specific purpose. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to help you by seeing the good side of how knowledge can participate in moving you forward in terms of your life's purpose. Now, the thing that's really interesting is yesterday we had a deep dive. We had a real deep dive yesterday speaking about how purpose, specifically for people who are trying to pursue their purpose powerfully, can actually be hindered by one's knowledge. Yesterday, we spoke specifically about the hindrance knowledge can actually play in terms of that journey towards your purpose. So today's slightly different. Today, we're going to be looking at a few different aspects as it pertains to knowledge and your purpose, and I hope you're ready to go. If you're just jumping on to the live this morning, I'd love for you to jump into the comments and just let me know that you're here. Don't forget to say hi. Don't be shy. This is an environment for us to share together. Now, side by side with that, if you are tuning in, I want to encourage you and implore you to make sure that you have your pens, your notepads, your iPads, your tablets, your writing materials and resources so you can take the most out of this specific journey. Now, there are many plans, the Bible says, in a man's heart, but it is the plans of the Lord. It is the counsel of the Lord that shall prevail. Okay, and I'm starting this series. We're already in day 7. We're halfway through today specifically. But the reason I started this series is because I realized, okay, having helped thousands, yes, thousands of people in the property space, having helped thousands of people work towards financial independence, in many cases actually become financially independent, having supported multiple people for multiple years to use property as a vehicle to change their financial life, to sack their spouse's boss, to sack their own bosses. I started to realize from a personal perspective that being free, quote unquote, being out of the rat race, as it were, but still having no understanding of your purpose is irrelevant. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I started to understand that being free, but still having no clear, strong understanding of your purpose is basically futile. It means nothing. It's a waste of everybody's time. Okay, and there's so many people who haven't got to grips with that. There are so many people who think finances are more important than their purpose. The Bible says throughout the book of Proverbs in the Old Testament that it is better to have wisdom and understanding than it even is to have silver and gold. I'm going to say that one more time for you. In the book of Proverbs, the Bible clearly documents that it is better to have wisdom and understanding than it is to have silver and gold. And this is something I found. Having helped thousands of people utilize property as a vehicle to change their financial situations, to change their lives, I started to recognize these patterns. I started to see again and again human beings, individuals who I had helped, human beings who I had seen start at one place, unlock the financial elements, be able to be financially free, but still lack so much as it pertains to their purpose. And it made me ask myself, how can I help these people even more? How could I actually support these people even more? And thus the 14 days on purpose was actually born, because this is a work of necessity. This is a work where we are going out of our way to share with you probably one of the most important pieces of your life. Okay, more important than religion. Okay, so many people spend their life focused on religions. Religion is not something that you should be focused on. You see, let me even go deep. We've been spending the last 6-7 days speaking from the Bible. The Bible is not a religious book. Okay, if there's anyone who's tuning in to this live, you're hearing me for the first time, I'd like to welcome you to the Simply I Can Win show, specifically to the 14 Days on Purpose program. And I want to say to you that if you haven't heard that before, that's the absolute truth. The Bible is not a religious book. You see, the Bible was not made in order to help people garner a religion. The Bible was not created in order for people to become religious. And I shared on day one that this program, this 14 days, is not going to be a religious program. So guys, those of you who haven't already, hit that like button. Side by side with that, if you're not subscribed to this channel, hit subscribe, become a part of what we're doing. So over this 14 days and beyond, you'll be able to get value from me, my family, and the things we do in terms of what we share with you. Now, I've got Mrs ICanWin in the chat ready to go, who says ready for another session, another seasoned session. I'm ready too, because I know this morning we are going to be opening up things that people are going to need in order to unlock their futures. Good morning, chat. We have content for you today that is going to open up the understanding for you in order for you to accurately, powerfully pursue your purpose. So what I'm going to do in today's session, before we go into the deep dive, I'm going to take it a step back, because I'm aware that there may be some of you who are just joining us for the first time. There may be some of you who have just streamed in for the first time. Some of you who are watching live who have said, okay, let me try on day 7. I haven't tried on day 1 to 6, but let me jump in on day 7. And equally, there are going to be some of you who are watching this on a replay, and for some reason you like the number 7 like me. It's your favorite number. So you say to yourself, you know what, let me start on day 7 and let me draw back a bit. We've already gone quite deep into the area of purpose. We've covered quite a few powerful concepts as it pertains to purpose and how you can unlock your purpose. But let's take a step back. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? Let's start there. Now, for today's session, I want to open this up for you guys from a simple question. I want to share with you guys a simple question that can help you understand what your purpose is. Not only what your purpose is, but how important your purpose is. And that question is, why am I here? If you haven't written that down, you need to write that down. Okay, take your notepad, take your iPad, take your tablet, take your pen, and write that question down. Why am I here? Why am I here? You know, I shared with you guys on day 1 the 3 groups of people that this 14-day journey was going to be for. If you haven't watched the day 1 video, when we finish this live, feel free to go and watch the day 1 video. I shared with you guys on day 1 who this 14-day process is for. One of the groups of people that I said this process is for is people who have got to a place where they no longer know why they're even on this earth. They've got to a place where, to them, their inability to answer that question, why am I here? Why am I on this planet? Has been stolen, snatched, robbed from them. They've been so unable to answer this question, they have no idea what they're doing here anymore. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this because I know this is going to touch some heartstrings, but it needs to be said. There are people who have gone from this earth. If they had the opportunity to come back, they would come back with no hesitation. So I ask myself sometimes the question, so why are there some people who are on this earth who desire to leave this earth without having achieved first their purpose? Okay, so why am I here? This is the question at the heart of discovering your purpose. You see, until you get to a place in your life where you start to ask yourself questions around this question, and then at some point specifically this question, why am I here? You will never discover your purpose. Okay, now this is not my attempt to be negative. This is my attempt to be real with you. This is my attempt to be transparent and honest with you. You see, sometimes it takes tragedy in some people's lives for them to get to that space where they start asking this question, why am I here? Sometimes it takes a scenario, a situation where someone maybe wouldn't have been here if that scenario pervaded, if that situation pervaded, for them to start asking themselves the question, why am I here? You see, the question, why am I here, is the heart to the reality of your purpose, of my purpose, of our purpose. And we can achieve our life's purpose if only we understand, first and foremost, why we are here. Now, let me share this with you, because I just want to be really honest and open with you guys. It's day 7. It's my favorite number. So I'm coming to give you guys the most value today. You see, for so many of us, because we don't allow our emotions, hashtag day 3, hashtag day 4, hashtag day 5, because we don't allow our emotions to work with us, to work for us, to work properly, because we've been conceived and deceived out of, we've been conformed through conception out of and deceived out of the knowledge of how crucial our emotions are, we allow ourselves to not get deep with ourselves around this question of, why am I here on this earth? Why are you here? Let me even share another facet with you guys. Because so many of us grew up in homes where our parents didn't necessarily ask us the question, why are you here? What is the reason God has placed you on this earth? What is the reason for your existence? You see, because we don't end up being asked those hard questions in the school system, in our home education systems, we grow up many a times in the 30s, 40s, and 50s of our life asking ourselves these questions, being late to the party. I remember listening once to Jim Rohn breaking down that humans are some of the slowest of God's creation to work out why they're here. And I understand that. I understand that because we're different to the rest of God's creation. You see, the rest of the animals, they are what they are. If you look at the actual Hebrew word for animal, okay, it basically means it is what it is. You see, most animals are what they are. Their purpose is a function of who they are, of what you see. But you see, human beings, we are different. We are made in the image of God, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. We are made in his likeness, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And with that weight, with that privilege, with that insight, we're slightly different to animals because we are creators. We are created creators. I want you to understand that we are created creators. So when we're not creative, we are not even being who we were created to be. I want somebody to understand that. So the question, why am I here, is the heart and root question to your purpose. And the reason I wanted to start with this today, the reason I wanted to take a step back and go from there today, is because I want you to understand that so many people are seeking and searching out success. So many people are powerfully pursuing success. Okay, but they're not powerfully pursuing their purpose. But my question to you today is this: why would you powerfully pursue success if true success is the acquisition of your purpose? Someone needs to write that down. Someone needs to throw that on Twitter. Why would you powerfully pursue success instead of powerfully pursuing your purpose if the acquisition of your purpose is the definition of success? You see, many people define success in multiple different ways, but the truth of success is for you to become who God has made you to be. The truth of your success is to manifest the maker's intention for your life. What do I mean by that? Well, look, I've spoken about this so many times. I'll give you an example, okay? This device right here, okay? This is a stylus. It is utilized best when used with an iPad. This stylus has been created for one singular purpose, not 3 purposes, not 4 purposes, not 5 purposes, but one singular purpose: to allow people to engage with the iPad device at a specific level in a specific way. You see, the problem is when this specific device has been created and it's been shipped out and it's been sold and it's been delivered and it arrives, and the person, the recipient who is going to yield and wield this specific device has no idea what its purpose is. You know what the person who receives this will do? You know what the recipient of this will do? Morning, champion. The recipient of this will take this and think it's a pen. The recipient of this will take this and attempt to use it as a pen. The recipient of this will grab this and be looking for paper. Let me ask you the question. How many times have you been looking for paper when you need to find the iPad in terms of your proverbial future and life? That's all right. Do you want to go back? Guys, we have Mr. Number 3 in the house right now who decided to show up. All right, go with your brother, okay? I'll see you guys later. Apologies, be careful. All right, guys. With that advert break for why we should have children, let's jump back in. So, guys, I want you to understand that so many people powerfully pursue success when really they should be powerfully pursuing their purpose. And just to break this down in terms of how people powerfully pursue success instead of powerfully pursuing their purpose, the example I give with the stylus is a clear example. How many times have we done that in our life? How many times in our own life have we taken the thing God has created, the thing the manufacturer has created, and used it in an ignorant way, used it in the wrong way, looked for other accessories for it which do not need to be used with it? You see, let me share this with you. Even though this is in the design and style of a pen, if I take a piece of paper and write with this on a piece of paper, this becomes, the word is useless. Somebody needs to write that down. Even though it looks like a pen, even though it is styled like a pen, if I use it like a normal pen, it becomes useless. And this is the problem for so many human beings. You see, there are so many human beings who have spent their life because they look like someone else, because they think they are styled like someone else. They spend their life being useless. But when you understand that purpose is getting to the crux of that question, why am I here? When you understand that purpose is spending your life manifesting the reason the manufacturer created you, everything changes. Success is in front of you. Success becomes yours. You see, God is not an unsuccessful God. He has no intention in creating you for lack of success. He has no intention in creating you in order for you to not have success. But the problem is our views of success many a times have been skewed. Our ideas of success many a times have been changed and twisted from truth to lies. You see, in the book of Genesis, we see this. I paraphrased it yesterday. We see the serpent show up and deceive Eve. And as he deceives Eve, as the serpent deceives Eve, the serpent takes Adam with him. As the serpent says, did God really say that? You see, what the serpent was doing was deceiving Eve from understanding her purpose to be the queen of creation. Deceiving Adam from understanding his purpose of why he's here, to be the king of creation. Let's go there. Let's go there, because I want you guys to understand how deep this is. Look, let me tell you something. Most people are waiting for the enemy, their enemy, the devil, whoever you want to call it, the distraction, the distractor of your life, the distractor of your purpose. Most people are waiting for that person to show up in a big red suit. Most people are waiting for that person to show up with big red horns. Most people are waiting for that person to show up and look evil. Okay? And this is part again of the problem, because people don't understand the purpose. If you understood your purpose, you'd understand it doesn't take someone in a big red suit. It doesn't take someone with horns on their head. It doesn't take someone looking like they're coming to derail you from your purpose, I remember hearing recently that the biggest enemy, one of the biggest enemies to great things, is good things. And when you understand that, you start to realize, hold on a minute. So it might not be something that looks evil trying to derail me from my purpose. It might actually be something that looks good, but is not great. It might be something that looks like a win, but isn't true success. It might be something that looks like I've been interested in for a long time, but doesn't pertain to the question of why I'm actually here. Let's jump in. Hey, Genesis chapter 3, I'm going to read from verse 1. Okay, guys, I want you to get this. I want you to grasp this concept I'm sharing with you about the importance of your purpose, so you can start to use knowledge the right way. The Bible talks about in the book of Proverbs how you can use knowledge aright. The righteous man will use knowledge aright, the right way. You see, it's one thing having knowledge. I share this all of the time with people. You see, Adam and Eve in the garden, the Bible documents in the book of Genesis that they ate of a tree of good and bad knowledge. You see, most people do not understand that there is good and bad knowledge. And the reason this is so important, because if you do not understand that there is both good and bad knowledge, you might be trapped like we spoke about yesterday, just like Jonah, spending your life in the pursuit of knowledge without knowing there's types of knowledge which is relevant for you, types of knowledge which are irrelevant for you. Genesis chapter 3 verse 1, it says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, have God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" You see, he started with deception. The serpent starts with deception by asking a question. You see, many of us don't understand the way God works, and as a result, the way the enemy duplicates this work. You see, God deals in questions. Many people are trying to deal in answers. See, I see so many human beings who try to spend their whole life trying to find answers. And I remember I was 18 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. Hearing a pastor say something which radically changed my life. The pastor said, don't spend your life looking for answers. He said, spend your life looking for questions. He said, because questions will introduce you to answers. Somebody needs to write that down. Don't spend your life looking for answers. Spend your life looking for questions, because questions introduce you to answers. Somebody needs to tweet that hashtag Samuel ICanWin. Let me tell you something. I want you to really get this, okay? Because when I first heard that, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first heard that at 18, 19 years old, I did not understand the complexity and the depth of that until I went off to study my first degree and study statistics and study mathematical constructs. And I realized when I started to study mathematical constructs, things that humans don't control but humans just discover, I started to understand exactly what this meant. Let me say this to you. I'll give you an example I usually use when I'm training and coaching people. If I gave you a number, today is day 7, today is my favorite number, it's number 7. If I gave you the number 7 and I said to you, where did this number come from? How did you create this number? You know what you'll do? You'll say to me, well, it's 5 plus 2. You see, but someone else will say to me it's 3 plus 4. And someone else will say to me it's 4 plus 3. And someone else will say to me it's 2 plus 5. And someone else will say to me it's 3.5 times 2. And someone else will say to me it's 7 divided by 1. And someone else will say to me it's 7 times 1. You see, so many questions will be produced when we focus only on the answer. But you see, if I gave you the question 5 plus 2, there is only one answer that question will introduce you to. You see, the pastor didn't take it to the mathematical construct when he shared it, but the pastor shared the principle. And because of the mathematical background I had, I was able to see this logically and understand that makes sense. This is why most human beings are confused, because most human beings are studying themselves. They are the answer to something God is trying to solve on this earth. But you know what they're doing? They're not studying the question of why am I here? They're studying themselves. They're looking at themselves and saying, oh, I look like this rapper. Oh, I look like this singer. Oh, I look like this artist. Oh, I look like that person. So I'm going to put my hair like that person, and I'm going to dress like that person, and I'm going to learn to speak like that person, and I want to try and become like that person. You see, most people are doing the complete opposite of what needs to be done in order to powerfully pursue their purpose. Most people are dealing with the wrong knowledge. They're searching and seeking for answers when they really need to be looking for the right question. Let me give you some examples. You see, Cain kills his brother Abel, and the first thing God says to him is, where is your brother? He asks him a question. Because questions introduce us to answers, whether they be the truth or whether they be false. And if you really understand the question you're dealing with, you can scrutinize your answer to the degree that you will recognize this is the right answer. So why are you here? That's the question of today. That's the question of these 14 days. Why are you here? It's day 7. Have you been able to unlock so far why you're actually here? You see, the first set of days 1 to day 6, were really for the other two groups of people, the people who had an idea of why they're here. And if those people stay with us to the end, to day 14, they're going to get even more value understanding why they're here. But you see, today and onwards, the rest from 7 to 14 is really, really for the people who have struggled to understand who they really are, why they're really here. The reason it's really for them people is because as we go from day 7 onwards, we're going to be unraveling to those people how they need to know the right thing, not just anything. We shared yesterday, 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 2. He who thinks he knows not what he ought to know. There are many people who think they know the answer, but they don't even know the question. You see, I'll share this with you. When I give you the number 7, and several people give me all of these questions that introduce you to 7, do you know what we've just created? For many people, we've created confusion. That's exactly how many people live their life, in a perpetual state of confusion. Is today's focus the job? Is today's focus the children? Is today's focus the spouse? Is today's focus the clothes? Is today's focus the watch? Is today's focus the food? You can go on and on and on. But there is never going to be a solution to that, because the person is in a perpetual state of confusion. You see, it's when we take a step back and we start to ask ourselves, why am I here? We start to ask ourselves the true, deep questions. We put ourselves in the right lane to ascertain exactly why we're here. Let's go back in Genesis chapter 3, verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But, verse 3, of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Let me tell you something. The first thing to do is read through Genesis chapter 2, then read through Genesis 3 again, and understand if Eve said what God said. You see, because this is how knowledge affects our purpose. You see, when we've been told, I knew you before you were born, I've called you a prophet. When we've been told God knows your destiny, God knows your purpose, and God has told you what your purpose is. When we've been told that, but then someone asks you, what are you here for? And you say, oh, I'm here on behalf of the XYZ Institute. And you start representing your job instead of your purpose or your work. That's where we start to have problems, because we're not speaking with accuracy from the truth of what we know. And this is why it's so crucial that we get to that place where we say to ourselves, no, I'm not going to be like anyone else. I'm not going to be like someone else who's going to come representing something which isn't as important as my purpose. Your purpose is more important than your job. Your purpose is more important than your salary. Your purpose will unlock the purpose of others. So your purpose is more important, should be to you more important than the purpose of other people. It should be because of the purpose of other people and your desire to unlock other people's purpose that you are motivated to manifest your own. Your purpose is crucial. Your purpose is God's intention for your creation. You see, and when you start to understand that, you understand that someone created me for this one reason. They created me for my life's purpose. You start to understand that so many other things in your life should be rendered useless. So many other things in your life should be rendered useless, but not your purpose. Verse 3 again. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Okay, lie, straight lie. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods. You see, the devil here, humans and the devil, I hope you're understanding what I'm talking about right now. God's not in this conversation. Humans and the devil are the creators of religion. This is happening here. This is happening here. You'll be like gods. New gods are being introduced to the equation in Genesis chapter 3 through means of a conversation with a human being and the devil. I want you to understand that. You see, because so many people seek after religion to rescue them. But what they don't understand is religion is a man-made construct. It's not going to rescue you. Religion 99% of the time has nothing to do with your purpose. Religion has to do with this conversation right here between Eve, a human being, and a serpent, someone who has an intention to distract you and derail you from your life's purpose. Your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. You see, The serpent says you're going to know the difference between good and evil if you eat from this tree. Okay? But what did God say? Let me keep going here and then I'll come back to this. Verse 6, and when the woman saw, okay, so now we're using natural things, okay, and this can again connect with what we spoke about on day 3, 4, and 5 when we spoke about your emotions and how it connects with your purpose. But when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant, now we're engaging in the emotions and the level of the soul, to the eyes, and a tree to be desired, okay, and I spoke about desire on those previous days as well, to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So Adam was there. Adam was observant and complicit to what was going on. Okay. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Okay. So this is kind of the backdrop of what happens in Genesis. But let me share something with you. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. So it should just be the page before, or if it's like my Bible, you know, just glance over a bit more to the left. Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. This is very, very important. What did God actually say? Okay. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. Okay. Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. Watch this. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Okay. And the Lord God said, it's not good that the man should be alone. I make him an helpmeet for him. And that's how Eve showed up. Now look, what I want you to understand is something very, very simple from this. God says, if you eat of this tree is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat of this tree, you're on a path to death. You're going to surely die. You're on a path, a road to death. There are many people who are on this road to death. Do you know why? Because they spend most of their time engaged in knowledge which is evil, rather than only knowledge which is good. And again, it's not many of our faults. We didn't make this happen. Okay, this is something that was produced, that happened way before any ancestors of yours that you know. Adam and Eve in the garden. This is when this stuff started. The drama starts here in the garden. And what you've got to understand is, look, we are the byproduct of Adam and Eve. So what that means is, don't blame them and say, oh, Adam, if I was in the garden, I would have done a better job. I would have kept us all safe. Let me tell you something. Your forefather could only do as good as you can do. And if Adam decided to engage with this fruit, you would have to. Okay? So the good thing is, we've got a redemptive plan. We've got a process where we can be rescued from that by focusing on our purpose, by focusing on what we were created for. Okay? Now, again, recently in one of our Bible and breakfast sessions, I broke down that we are actually created to be part of a kingdom, not a religion. And this helps us understand our purpose, but that's not the plan for today's session to go into. So again, if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. If you're interested in understanding more about this kingdom we're supposed to be part of, not this religion that many people have bought into. Let me know in the comments or in the live chat if that's something you're interested in, and we could find a way to do some studies on that, to speak about that and to share on that a bit more. So let's keep going. The key question at the heart of purpose is, why am I here? But this key question is also married to few other key questions which can really unlock someone's potential, not just their purpose. So some of these questions, for example, I'll give you one of them. What can I do? What can I actually do? Is a question at the heart of the concept of your potential. And most people don't know their potential because they haven't understood their purpose. You see, when you understand what your purpose is and you say to yourself, this is bigger than me, this is beyond what I think I can achieve, this is beyond what I think I can do myself, that is a great sign, because that is going to lead you down the road to discover your potential. You see, what many people do who even get to the place where they start to explore their purpose is they realize from their purpose that they're called to do something, they're created to do something bigger and beyond where they're actually at. But you know what they do straight then? They don't allow themselves to then engage in the context of their potential. They quit. They say, I can't do this thing that God's asked me to do. It's too big. And then they quit, rather than realizing, no, I can do this. I can do this. We can do this. You see, there's another few questions that maybe need to be asked before we even get to the question on purpose. But my hope is that some of you have asked these questions already, such as, who am I? The question that deals with identity. Who are you actually? Where are you from? Who am I and where am I from? I spoke about in previous days about my wife and how I say my wife is from heaven. Why? Because if she is from heaven, then her purpose on this earth is going to be one that the heavenly realm has determined, not me. Not this naturalistic world, not this materialistic world, not her school, not her mum and her dad. And this is something we need to think about. We need to start to understand. Who am I? Who am I? Do I know my actual true identity? Where am I from? If I'm from London, England, then I'm going to live a life based on people who are from London and England. But if I'm from heaven, if I'm the seed of God himself, made in his image, according to Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, let me tell you something. My life will look completely different to someone who's just from London, England. Someone who's just from the United Kingdom. If I'm from the kingdom of heaven, then I'll be operating at a whole nother level. You see, when the Bible documents Jesus' life on earth, it documents the life of a man who's living on a whole nother level. Excuse me, guys. How does it do that? How does the Bible do that? How does the Bible document the life of Jesus as the life of someone who lives a completely different life? I'll tell you how. Because Jesus understood his identity. He understood who he was. Jesus understood his source. He understood where he was from. Jesus understood his purpose. He understood why he was here. He then went on to understand his potential and understand what he could do and what he could achieve. You see, today, as we talk about purpose on day 7, I want you to get to that place of understanding that if I can discover the answer to the question of why I'm here, I can start to work on my true potential and not the potential I've been deceived into believing is my full potential. You see, the serpent says to Eve, you will be like gods. What is it to be like a god? When in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, God says, I make mankind in my image and in my likeness. You are already like God, but he has deceived her into believing that by doing this thing, this act of disobedience, she will become like God. She will be like God. Guys, I hope you understand the depth of what I'm talking about here. You see, that is the story for many of us. We are winners. We're born into this world as winners. If you know how human beings are actually created from the scientific perspective, hundreds, thousands, millions of sperm are racing to the egg. But one, and in some cases two, are able to break through. You see, I hope you understand the depth of what I'm sharing with you, because you come into this place as a winner. You come into this place as a victor. You come into this place as someone who's overcome. So why live a life substandard to that? Why enter this world and become substandard to that? I'll tell you why. Because the moment you enter this world, the world is attempting to deceive you from day one. Attempting to deceive you and derail you from day one. Attempting to tell you and share with you that you are not like God from day one. That's the world we live in. The world where a bus drives by with a picture of a half-naked woman advertising, underwear. All times of the day, for everyone to see, for children to see, for adults to see. Why do we live in a world like this? Let me tell you why we live in a world like this. Because we live in a world which is created to deceive you out of your purpose. To deceive you into thinking, do I look like her? Does she look like me? Do I like that underwear? To deceive you into thinking about things which you will now allow to be your answers, rather than taking a step back and asking yourself the question. I see Bevon Sanderson in the chat who says wonderful and informative. Thank you, Bevon, for your comment. Guys, you've got to understand that we need to stop allowing ourselves to be deceived. We need to stop allowing ourselves to be led by things which mean nothing. You see, for me, I feel slightly grateful for the events of 2020. You see, the year 2020 showed so many people that the things they had trusted in, the things they had loved, the things that they had signed their life over to mean nothing. It took a year like 2020 to help people understand that. You see, when the Lord put it in my heart to do this 14 days on purpose, I was saying to myself, like, I know people need this, but how are people going to receive this? And you see the funniest thing, when you have a year like 2020, where you're told, don't leave your house, it's not up to you anymore. Where you're told, don't go to work, it's not up to you. Work from home, homeschool. Let me tell you something. I had a conversation yesterday, which was quite insightful. And it alludes to exactly what I want to share with you guys. The conversation I had yesterday, the person asked me, they called me. I hadn't spoken to them for a long time, maybe around a year. They just flown back from Jamaica a few months ago. And when they called me, the first thing they were doing on the phone is laughing. And they said, look, Samuel, I'm not going to ask you how homeschool is going. I'm not going to ask you how homeschooling and all of those things are going, because I know you were doing that stuff already. I know it's not new for you. You see, this is the thing I want you guys to understand. You see, when you're in touch with your purpose, and I'm not saying everybody's purpose, everybody's reason for being here is to homeschool their children. No, I'm not saying that. But I want you to understand this. When you're in touch with your purpose, the whole world can go through a catastrophe and it doesn't affect you the same way. You see, the whole world can be shaken and shivering, but it doesn't affect you the same way. And I remember laughing on the call yesterday and saying, yeah, you're right. You know, my wife and I decided to homeschool before we were even married. When we got married, we cemented that idea definitely and said, this is exactly what we wanted to do. We went into the education sector, and in the education sector, we were even more convinced we didn't want our children to become wards of the state. If you haven't heard of that term, again, just, put a question mark in the chat. I can talk to you a little bit more about what that means. We didn't want our children to be wards of the state. Working in secondary schools and colleges, for myself, I did not want my children to be products of this system in that sense. My wife was working in primary schools and she said, I don't want our children to be a product of these systems. These systems where the odd teacher has a heart for your child and the majority of teachers couldn't care less what happens to your child. These systems where people are coming for a paycheck rather than for purpose. We didn't want that to be for our children. So we made those decisions early, before we had children, before we were married, before we made those decisions early. And we asked God, God, show us, what do you want us to do? We then got to a space where we knew our purpose, especially in the regard of child rearing. And you know the reason why this is interesting? Because when the whole world were told to homeschool, we weren't being told anything. Why? Because we were already homeschooling. You see, when the whole world was told, go and work from home, you got to work from home, we weren't being told anything because we already worked from home. We already ran our own business. Now, again, does this mean I'm saying everyone should run their own business? No, I'm saying everyone should live on purpose. Everyone should know, why am I here? So when the whole world is shaken, like in 2020, excuse me, you're safe. When the whole world is being told to change, to pivot, to become something they're not used to, at the drop of a hat, you are unscathed because you are living on your purpose. You see, guys, what we've got to understand is purpose is more important than payment. So many people miss this. Purpose is more important than payment. Let me tell you something. I meet people all the time, okay? Having been a speaker, a guest speaker at some of the biggest property events in the UK, I meet hundreds of thousands of people. When I'm invited to speak at the National Landlord Investment Show, when I'm invited to speak at the Property Investors Show in Excel, when I'm invited to speak in Olympia, when I'm invited to speak, even when I just host my own networking event that I was hosting up until last year, and over 100 people attend every single month, I meet people all the time who are focused on payment rather than being focused on purpose. Let me tell you something. Working with the right person because of your purpose and because of their purpose is way more important than payment. It's way more important. Having the ability to unlock more of your purpose by working with the right people is way more important, I can guarantee you, than payment. Excuse me. It's way more important than payment. Let me tell you something. There are people who get paid who are off purpose. I want you to understand that, because the moment you start to understand that, hopefully the moment you'll stop chasing the payment and start chasing the purpose. You'll start saying, you know what, I need to connect with this person. I need to engage with this person. I need to work with this person because I can see there's purpose here, rather than I need to focus on payment. You see, there are people who their 9-to-5 jobs derail them from their purpose, because as they continue to chase the payment, it's not the job they're chasing the payment. We all know this. But as they continue to chase the payment, they miss out on the people. They miss out on the purpose that God has intended for their life. So my question today, as we ask ourselves, why am I here? As we ask ourselves, the key question that pertains to purpose is, who was Jonah? Yesterday, we spoke about the life of Jonah. We spoke about how knowledge can derail us from our purpose. We spoke about how Jonah was not the person they say he is in the Sunday schools, in theology classes. Jonah is not the person that they paint him out to be in this world of religion. That Jonah disobeyed God, and from disobeying God, God put him in the belly of the whale, and as a result, he then went. No, you see, Jonah was someone who knew God enough to know that he would produce a second chance. This is what we shared yesterday. For those of you who was with us yesterday, if you missed yesterday, again, when today's session finishes, you can go back and watch yesterday's video. If someone's getting value, please write the word value in the chat. Let me know that you're getting value from what we're sharing so far today. You see, Jonah, I'm going to share some things with you about Jonah today, which are going to hopefully help you open your eyes to understand Jonah and his relevance to us as it pertains to us pursuing our purpose. Because Jonah's a very, very important person in the Bible to help us understand exactly what God wants us to do with our lives. Okay? So Jonah says to God, we read this yesterday in Jonah chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. Jonah says to God, God, I knew that you are a merciful God. I knew that you are a patient God. I knew that you are a kind God. I knew you'd let them off the hook. I knew it. That's why I didn't go. I didn't not go because I was just a deviant, a deceitful vagabond. I didn't just go because of the fact that I like to disobey. No. Jonah knew why he didn't go. Jonah didn't go because he believed. His knowledge base said to him, these people didn't deserve to be rescued. And Jonah believed that if he didn't go, then God wouldn't get the opportunity to rescue them. So Jonah didn't go because of his own knowledge. Jonah chose not to go because he thought he knew what was best. And we do that sometimes ourselves as well. I just focus on this job for the next 5 years. And then after these 5 years, you know what I'll do then? That's when I'll go and focus on the thing God told me to do. Let me tell you something. The book of Jonah is such a powerful book. 4 chapters. One of the smallest books in the Bible. Go read that book, guys. Go read the book. Because the book will change your life. If you really read that book with an open heart and say to God, God, show me my purpose, show me why I'm here. That book alone, the 4 chapters in that book will change your life. The book will help you understand that you're created for more than the simple things that maybe you've been living for the 50 years, 60 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, however long you've been alive. So many of us spend our lives, okay? And I want to say that again. So many of us, I don't know if you heard the words, so many of us spend our lives. Your life is not meant to be spent. Your life is meant to be invested. So many of us spend our lives, but your life is not meant to be spent. Your life is meant to be invested. Let's go further. The book of Jonah, chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. When Jonah saw that God did exactly what Jonah knew God was going to do, he forgave the people that Jonah thought should not be forgiven. Jonah was angry. Jonah was displeased. Jonah was not happy. You see, when you spend your time focused on things that do not pertain to your purpose, that's the space you'll end up in. You'll end up in a space where your knowledge is taking you away from what your knowledge should be taking you to. He was angry. He was angry. Let's go into verse 2. And he prayed unto the Lord. He started to talk to God. Listen to what he says to God. And said, I pray thee, O Lord, not this my saying when I was yet in my country? Isn't this what I was saying when I was back home? I said this. I said this was going to happen, God. Let's see what he said was going to happen. This is the reason. He says, therefore I fled before unto Tarshish. This is the reason I ran away to Tarshish. This is the reason I didn't go to Nineveh when you sent me to Nineveh. Let's keep reading what he says. For I knew knowledge that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger. It takes long before you get angry, God. I knew that. I knew that. I knew you was going to allow them. I knew you was going to forgive them. I knew you was going to give them another chance, God. That's why I ran away from telling them that what they were doing was wrong. That's why I ran away from my life's purpose, because I knew you were going to forgive them, and I didn't think they needed to be forgiven. I hope someone's hearing this. Let's keep going. Gracious God and merciful, I'm in verse 2. And you are gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness, and repentest thee of the evil. You are not in the evil business. You're not in the business of evil. When evil shows up, you show out. You say, I ain't got nothing to do with that. So even though they were doing wrong, and even though you knew that evil was going to happen to them and you were going to allow it to happen to them, you don't want evil to happen to them. You're kind, you're good, you're nice. So the reality is, if we get focused on our purpose, we're going to be working with someone who manufactured us for kindness, for goodness, for something that is not what most people are focused on. You see, we need to get to that space where we understand our manufacturer has no evil intention. You see, this is what Jonah starts to reveal. He says, you repentest thee of the evil. You're the kind of person who turns around from evil. You turn away from evil. God, you're the kind of person who's not interested in evil. Even though you open up the book of Jonah, speaking to the prophet about the evil that's going to happen to these people, your business is not the evil business. Guys, I hope somebody's getting some value right now. Also, ICanWin, I see your comment in the chat. Powerful and profitable. Invest in our lives. Yes, our lives are not meant to be spent. See, I hope you've heard that saying before. People spend their lives doing this and doing. You should not be spending your life. You should be investing your life. And any good investment produces a return on that investment. Hope somebody got value from that right there. Excuse me, guys. No, Zechariah, you cannot, because mommy and daddy said you're not allowed, okay? But go check with mommy. So guys, I want you to understand this. So many of the times we spend our lives engaging in things which are not profitable for us. But you see right here in Jonah chapter 4, we get the keys unlocked. We get told the truth. We were made by a manufacturer who is interested in rescuing us, who is interested in turning his back on evil. You see, if you understood that, your life would be completely different. Your life would be purpose-filled and purposeful, not stress-filled and stressful. Verse 3. Therefore now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me. What's the point of being alive? I've done what you want to do. I've done what you thought was best. Take my life from me, he says. For it's better for me to die than to live. Let me jump in. Guys, let's get some value out of here. Jonah chapter 1. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah. This is chapter 1 verse 1. Let me give you something that you may not have known. Let me tell you something that you may never have heard of. Let me help you understand how Jonah's life is so relevant to our lives as people who are learning how to powerfully pursue our purpose. The name Jonah in Hebrew, also pronounced Jonah, okay? That name, that word means dove. I want you to tell me, as you hear that, Jonah's name means dove. What does that mean? What does dove mean? Where do we see a dove before we see Jonah show up? You see, in scholarly Bible training, one of the things they teach us is called the law of first mention. When you see something in the Bible, one of the most powerful ways to understand what this thing is to look at the first time it was ever mentioned in the Bible. And if we see this name, Jonah, and we know that it means dove, the question is, where was this first eloquently shared in the Bible? And we find that in the book of Genesis. In the book of Genesis, there's a flood. And where this flood fills the world, takes away everyone who's not living on purpose. I hope somebody's getting value from this. God says to his man Noah, he says, Noah, you're my man. Listen, I'm going to take you and your family and restart the whole thing because I need people living on purpose. And Noah says, God, I'll do whatever you say. God says, okay, so start to build an ark. Start to do something no one else is going to do because no one sees the rain coming. I hope someone's getting value out of this. You see, when you live on purpose, powerfully pursuing your purpose, you're doing things other people aren't doing before they know it needs to be done. So Noah gets set up. Noah starts building the ark. The knowledge God gives Noah rescues him from a life of stress and stressfulness. God puts Noah in a position where Noah has a vehicle to escape what everyone else cannot escape. Hope you're understanding this. So Noah and his family, they go into this ark, and the Bible says that God closed the door of the ark. Hope somebody understands that. That's again just another little value bomb there. God closed the door of the ark. Noah didn't close the door. God closed the door of the ark, and then the rain came and a flood came and everybody and everything that wasn't on the ark was wiped out. Why is this relevant? Let's go in now. You see, days pass, weeks pass, and Noah says to God, God, when are we going to come off of this ark? We've been on this ark for quite some time. And God says, you know what? I'm going to let you find a way to know when to come off. You see, send a bird. Send a bird to fly. And if the bird returns with an olive branch, if the bird returns with some kind of branch, what that means is that bird was able to perch on a tree. And if the bird was able to perch on a tree, then the water must have abated enough for the top of that tree to be perchable. You see, God gave Noah the tactic to understand when they could leave the ark. And you know what happens? It's so interesting. Noah sends out a dove. You see, there's a lot more to the story before Noah sends out the dove, but Noah sends out a dove. You see, the dove is symbolic of the right time for something to happen. And this tells us something. This gives us a piece of knowledge that we should have as we think about our purpose in life. We should understand when we think about our purpose in life that just like Jonah, there's a timing involved. Excuse me. That just like Jonah, there's a timing involved. Just like Jonah, there's a timing involved. There's a timing to know when to go and when not to go, when to come and when not to come. Guys, I hope you're understanding this. Jonah's name means dove. And just like there was a dove which told Noah, it's that time. I'm telling you, Jonah's the dove for us in this 14 days on purpose, for us to understand, guys, it's that time. It's that time in your life to understand that your purpose is more important than profits. Your purpose is more important than payment. Your purpose is more important than your predicament. Your purpose is what should be your primary focus. And this is why we should powerfully be pursuing our purpose. Let's read some more. Jonah chapter 1. I'm going to share it with you guys. I didn't go into the whole story yesterday, but we jumped from place to place, but let's jump in. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Okay, so he's fleeing from in front of God. He's fleeing from the environment he's in where God is there as well. He's fleeing from God. And many people have done the same thing. God downloads your purpose, you question your potential, and then flee from God. Okay, let's keep going. Obviously, in Jonah's case, he didn't question his potential, but let's keep going. But Jonah rose up, verse 3 again, to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Listen, guys, do you see how it's just repeating this presence of the Lord thing? One thing I want to say to you is Jonah paid the fare to go away from the presence of God. So many people do the same thing. Okay, so the Bible's documented this so we understand it's not an accident. He's not leaving the presence of God by accident. He's paying money to go a different direction. See, people pay money many a times to go a different direction. People invest energy to go a different direction. People spend their time, invest their time to go a different direction to God's purpose for them. I hope you understand this. It's not an accident many times. Okay, but let's keep pushing forward. Okay, verse 4. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God. So these guys are again religious. They're now saying, oh, which God is going to rescue us? You cry to your God. You cry to your God. You guys go speak to Allah. You guys go speak to Buddha. You guys, we got to sort this out. They're crying unto all of the gods, any God they could find. Okay, hope you're understanding this. And cast forth, I'm going to read that again. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea. So they're now throwing things out of the ship into the sea to lighten the load. Okay. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. Jonah knows what's going on. I hope you understand that. Because he's got a relationship with God, because he's been in the presence of God, Jonah knows what's going on. Jonah knows this is the earth saying, bro, you've got a purpose and you're not walking, operating, engaging in your purpose. So things aren't going to work for you. This journey to Tarshish is not going to be smooth for you. You see, one of the reasons I would encourage you to powerfully pursue your purpose is because when you are not en route to your purpose, things are not smooth, guys. Things are not smooth. And I said this on day one, this 14-day journey is not going to be easy. If you really engage with the stuff I'm sharing with you, if you really open your heart to engage with this stuff, you will know this is not easy. It may be simple, but it's not easy, guys. So Jonah's in this space where he's starting to understand, hold on a minute, things ain't going the way they're supposed to go, but I know why. I'm running from God. I'm running from my manufacturer. I'm running from the person who created my instruction manual. I'm running away from the person who produces my warranty and guarantee. So if something's wrong with me, he's the one who I need to go to fix it, but I'm running away from him. This is what it's saying, guys. Verse 5. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares out of the ship into the sea to lighten of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay there and was fast asleep. Verse 6. So the shipmaster came to him. Okay, the guy in charge of the ship came to him and said unto him, what meanest thou? What are you doing, O sleeper? You see, Jonah was sleeping on his purpose. People don't pick up these principles from what was going on with Jonah. The guy in charge of the ship says, what are you trying to do? We are at risk of death. Don't you love your life? These people are talking to their gods and you're here sleeping. What do you mean by sleeping here? What meanest thou? What is this you're doing? You're a sleeper. Why are you sleeping on the job? We need to rescue ourselves. You see, this is the funniest thing. I hope you understand this from an outside perspective as well. There are people who are desperate in their religion, praying to all these different gods, asking, why are they going through what they're going through? Why is the storm here? Why is the rain here? Why is the tempest here? They're getting rid of the stuff that they think is distracting them, is stopping them, is holding them down, and things still aren't working. Why? That's what all these gods will do for you. All these gods will have you running in circles trying to work out what's really wrong. Let's keep going. Verse 6. The master of the ship says to him, arise, stand up, call upon your God. If so be that God will think upon us and we perish not. You see, these people don't know what we later find out in Jonah chapter 4. Jonah knows. These people don't know that God is merciful. These people were not serving a God that was kind. They weren't serving a God that was merciful. You could see that because the shipmaster is saying, look, everybody's got to call upon their God so God can be kind to us. But Jonah tells us, he explores and expresses to us later on in Jonah chapter 4 verse 2 that God, I knew you were kind. I knew you were forgiving. I know the characteristic of the God I serve. So whilst this shipmaster's trying to work out if there is a God that's kind out of all of the gods of the people on the ship, Jonah already knows that God's a kind God. He already knows what's going to happen if he talks to God about this storm. But Jonah knows this isn't about the storm. And this is what I mean when I shared with you guys earlier that your purpose is more important than your predicament. Because for many people, they focus on the predicament and leave fast the purpose. They leave the thing that's more important. And I shared it with you guys yesterday, something I heard years ago, over 16 years ago. Samuel, don't major on minors and don't minor on majors. The things that are major in your life, like your purpose, why are you on this earth, is a major. But the thing that you maybe have been thinking about, how do I pay my bills this month, is a minor. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 shares that with us, and we shared that yesterday. You see, you need to major on majors and minor on minors. You need to focus on the things that God wants you focused on, the things your manufacturer created you for, because that's going to be the environment, the area where you are going to excel. You are going to stand out. You are going to be excellent. And people are going to look upon you and say, how does he do that? How does she do that? How does she get that done that quick? How does he get that done that quick? How can he be so efficient? How does he know these things? Because he's walking in his purpose. He's operating in the area of his gifted. He's doing exactly what he was made for. We're doing exactly what we were made for. She's doing exactly what she was created for. You see, when you judge a monkey by the standard of a fish, I can guarantee you there is failure going to happen. And when you judge an alligator by the standard of a tadpole, I can guarantee you that there is failure going to happen. But when you let that croc be a croc, and when you let that tadpole be a tadpole, and that butterfly be a butterfly, and you judge them on the metrics of the purpose they were created, I can guarantee you success is inevitable. And this is why we had to start today speaking about success and saying that so many people are chasing success but fail to understand that true success is the acquisition of your actual purpose. True success is you just becoming what you were created to become. So it's more important that you focus on what you were created to become than all of the other things that people seem to tend to want to focus on. Let's keep going. The shipmaster says, call unto your God. Because if you call unto your God, it might be that he will think about us and we will not perish. For those of you Bible students who are on the stream, whether it's live or whether you're on the replay, guys, this guy was telling Jonah that God might think about them if he calls on God. Listen, this is the God that if we read through this Bible, it says he knows how many hairs you have on your head. You think he's not thinking about you right now? You think he needs you to pray to think about you? Do you think he's not thinking about you so much that he's asked me to come and do this 14 days on purpose? So whether it's live or whether it's on a replay, you can know he's thinking about you, because as Jonah says in Jonah chapter 4 verse 2, he's kind, he's gracious, he's patient. He's been waiting on you to focus on your purpose. You see, that's the God we're talking about. But the shipmaster says, maybe if you speak to your God might think about us. And if he thinks about us, maybe something will change. Let's keep going. If so be that God will think upon us that we perish not, so we won't die. And they said every one to his fellow, come and let us cast lots. Let's draw straws, basically, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. So these people now want to discover who's the culprit here, who's the drama creator here. Why is this drama happening to us? So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon the dove. The lot fell upon Jonah. Let's keep going. Verse 8. Then said they unto him, tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil upon us? What is thine occupation? I hope you guys are seeing this stuff, because so many people don't read the Bible. But then secondarily, so many people read the Bible and don't read the Bible. This is interesting. The moment they work out that Jonah's the problem, they say to Jonah, what's your job, bro? What do you do? You see, this is the lack of focus for people. The fact that we're not looking at the purpose. We're looking at the occupation. But let's keep going, because this is important here. So they say to Jonah, what is your occupation? Why have you allowed this evil to come upon us? They want to know, is he a witch doctor? What do you get up to? What pays your bills? Let's see. And whence comest thou? Where are you coming from? What is your country? You see, they're asking real questions about purpose. Where are you from? What's your nationality? Are you British or are you from heaven? Where are you coming from? From the UK or from a kingdom of God? These people are asking questions. And of what people are you? Verse 9. And he said unto them, hear this, I am Hebrew, and I fear the Lord. He's telling them, look, I've got a faith which is real. I've got a relationship with a God, and I'm from a people who are Hebrews. And the God of heaven, I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry. So the God I serve is the one who created all this stuff. This stuff you're crying about, this stuff you're saying, maybe a God will think about us. The God I serve created the sea. He created the wet things and the dry things. Let's keep going. Verse 10. Then were the men exceedingly afraid, because now they're saying, hold on a minute, this guy actually has a God that created this stuff. So if he created this stuff, this storm's nothing. We've thrown all this stuff off. It's nothing compared to what can happen. Because if the guy created this stuff, he's got the warranty booklet, the guarantee booklet, the manufacturer's guide. He understands this stuff if he created this stuff. Hope you guys are seeing this. Let's go. Verse 10. And said unto him, why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. I know my God created all this stuff, but I'm running away, is what Jonah said. I'm running away. I don't want to do what he told me to do. So I decided to go the opposite way. Why would you do that? These people are saying, if you know that there's a God and your God knows everything and created everything, why would you do that? Why would you run away from him? Let's ask ourselves the same question sometimes, guys. Hear this. Verse 11. Then they said unto him, what shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea wrought and was tempestuous. You see, they're now saying to Jonah, what do we do? Look, this is the thing. I hope you guys understand this. Jonah is the culprit, but Jonah becomes the solution when they understand their gods don't work. When they understand that the thing they've been living their life for means nothing. The gods they've been worshipping and serving mean nothing, are ineffective. And they understand that this Hebrew guy, Jonah, the dove, has a connection with a God that when you run away from him, things don't work for you and the people you're connecting with. They now look to Jonah for answers. Let's keep going. Verse 12. And he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. He said, listen, I understand how things work. Okay, I've got a purpose. I'm not operating in my purpose right now. So every moment I don't operate in my purpose, people around me are gonna be casualties of war. They're gonna end up not having a great deal because I'm not having a great deal because I'm not doing what God created me to do. I'm not walking in my instruction manual. So as a result, it's going to affect other people. So you know what you got to do? Just throw me into the sea. Just get rid of me. Get rid of me. Get me out of this boat, and the people in the boat will be fine. The sea won't affect the people in the boat anymore. This is what Jonah's saying. Hope you understand this. You see, Jonah understood that he was going to experience problems as long as he runs away from his purpose. I want you to understand that, please. We will experience problems as long as we run away from our purpose. And guys, I want you to understand this. This has got this, like, how do I say this like this? I'll say it. This has got nothing to do with God, guys. This isn't about God here. The drama that's happening to Jonah is not because of God. It's because of Jonah. I want you to understand that. Because there are some people who say to themselves, why is this world so wicked? Why do evil things happen? How comes this member of my family passed away? They were such a good person. Listen, this isn't about good person or bad person. This is all about purpose. This is all about the powerful pursuit of your purpose. If Jonah continues to run away from his purpose, he will continue to manifest problems for himself and those around him. It's got nothing to do with God. God's not the one here chasing him. His purpose is trying to call him, and he's walking away from it. And there's ramifications to that. Let's keep going. Verse 12. And he said unto them again, take me up and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. 13. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring to the land, but they could not, for the sea roared and was tempestuous against them. Listen, this is what most people do. Most people know what they're supposed to do. Okay? Get rid of that thing in your life. Just throw it overboard. Most people know what they're supposed to do. Most people are even told by someone, listen, if you chuck me overboard, you'll be okay. Most people can even be told what to do. But you know what most people do? They continue to go against their purpose. He says to them, if you want to be safe, get rid of me. Just throw me overboard. You know what they do? They try to row harder. How many people do you know who do that? God tells them, this is your purpose. This is the reason I created you. This is the reason I want you on this earth. This is what you are going to do for humanity. This is how you're going to help people in their lives. And you know what they do? They go harder on the things they shouldn't be doing. They go harder on the things that are completely opposite to what God's told them to do. They rowed harder trying to get to the shore, but the wind would not let them. The tempestuousness of the sea would not let them. I hope you're understanding what's going on here. 14. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, we beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood, for thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee. So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from her raging. You see, what happens here is they start to understand, you know what, we might have to get rid of this guy. And then they say, you know what, if we get rid of this guy and we're doing the wrong thing, we're out of our purpose, we don't want the consequence. So they start to pray. And they say, God, listen, please. If we are going to do what you want us to do, which is get rid of this guy, please don't allow his blood, if he dies, which they presumed he was going to do, which obviously anyone would presume someone's going to do if you throw them overboard. If he dies, when he dies, don't make us guilty of his innocent blood. If he's someone who knows you, who's got a relationship with you, and we didn't even know who you were until he told us about you, please, please, please don't allow us to be found guilty for murdering him. This is what they say, and then they throw him overboard because they need that peace. They want to be alive. Verse 15. So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from her raging. 16. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord and made vows. These people got committed to living for that God because of their experience with Jonah. I hope you understand this, okay? That is part of Jonah's purpose, to show people it's that time to make a change. It's that time to make a change. These people made a change. 17. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And I said this yesterday, not to eat Jonah, to swallow Jonah. There's a difference, okay? And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. That's the end of chapter 1. Let's go into chapter 2. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell, cried I, thou heardest my voice. He's just sharing with us that wherever you are in your life, whatever situation you're going through, you might be in a living hell, but the God of your purpose can still hear you. Check this out, verse 3. For you hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All the billows and thy waves passed over me. Verse 4. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. He said, God, I've run away from you. Things haven't gone well. As a direct byproduct, I've ended up in a hell, and now I'm in this hell. I don't want to stay away from you. I don't want to be out of your presence. I don't want to be running from you. I want to be back with you. I want to be reconnected to you. This is what he's saying. Verse 5. The waters compassed me about to the soul. The depth closed me around about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. He's showing you descriptively exactly what he was going through, being in the belly of this well, being in the sea. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains, the earth with her bars about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. He was speaking as a prophet, saying, look, even though all of these things I'm going through, you're going to bring my life out. You're going to rescue me. You're going to save me. You're going to keep me. How did he know that? Because of Jonah chapter 4 verse 2, which we've read before. Brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. Verse 7. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. Verse 8. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. Guys, you need to write that down. Jonah chapter 2 verse 8. You see, that is what's happening in our world right now. That is what I alluded to in Genesis chapter 3 when we read it earlier on today. That's what I was alluding to in Genesis chapter 2 when we was reading that earlier on today. They that observe lying vanities, they that pay attention to, are focused on, are fixated on lying vanities. Things that mean nothing but are lying. So obviously if something is a vanity, if something is vain or vanity, it means nothing. It has no value, it has no substance. But if it's lying, it means it's telling you it has value, it has substance. I hope somebody's hearing this. There are people spending their whole life focused on, fixated on, chasing after what Jonah calls lying vanities. Things of no value, which are vain in nature, which lie to you and say they're of value and they're most important. Do not major on minors and do not minor on majors. Let's keep going. But he says, for those that observe lying vanities, they forsake their own mercy. They're giving up the mercy from this God that God wants to give you. Let's keep going. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. You see, Jonah knew that even without money, he didn't say I've got an offering. Even without, you see, guys, this isn't about what you can give to God. This is about you getting right with your purpose. Jonah says, listen, even with my mouth, I will give a worship. I will give a sacrifice of thanksgiving. I'm going to thank you despite I'm in a scenario which may not be thankful. Let's go into the last verse and shift on. Verse 10. And the Lord spoke unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry. Now, the reason it's important that you know this fish vomits Jonah onto the dry is because Jonah said earlier, this is the God who made the seas and the dry land. Okay? So he wants you to understand God can do this stuff because God created this stuff. He's the manufacturer of all of these things. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. And the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time. Hope you're hearing this. This is that merciful nature, okay? Saying, arise, go unto Nineveh, that great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee. So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh according to the word of the Lord. That means he's running according to his purpose. That means he's doing what he was told. That means he's operating like his manufacturer created him to operate. So Jonah arose, chapter 3, verse 3, and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. And Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey. And he cried and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. In 40 days' time, guys, it's over. We read part of this yesterday, but let's keep going. So the people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them even to the least of them. For word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. The highest member of their state, their king, said, we are going to fast. The highest member of their state, their king, said, I'm going to wear sackcloth. So I'm taking off the robe to ask this God for forgiveness, because you're right. We believe you, Mr. Jonah the prophet. We believe you that in 40 days we are being wiped out. Let's keep going. Verse 7, and he caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock, taste anything. Let them not feed nor drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth, and cry mightily unto God. Yea, let them turn every one from his evil way, and from the violence that is in their hands. Who can tell if God will turn and repent and turn away from his fierce anger, that we perish not? You see, Jonah created a scenario where a whole nation, what it says is a great city, were able to actually rekindle their purposes. And this is what happens for you and I. When we go out of our way to connect with our purposes effectively, we put ourselves in a predicament where we can receive exactly what we're supposed to receive in order to move forward. We put ourselves in a predicament where we can help the whole process of moving forward, not just for ourselves, but also for the lives of others. Guys, sometimes you need to sit back and ask yourself, whose purpose will be unlocked when I walk in mine? Sometimes we really need to connect with that message. What am I here for? Who will find out what they are here for when I start walking in the reason for why I'm here? Guys, this stuff is so important. Let's go into chapter 4. I'll just read a few verses before we open up for Q&A for today's session. It says, but it pleased Jonah exceedingly. Excuse me, where are we at? Verse 10. So Jonah chapter 3 verse 10. And God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God repented of the evil that he had said that he would do unto them, and he did it not. Chapter 4 verse 1. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. And he prayed unto the Lord and said, I pray thee, O Lord, was not this my saying when I was yet in my country? Therefore I fled before unto Tarshish, for I knew that thou art a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness, and repentest thee of the evil. Therefore now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Hope you guys are following, because this is where it goes in. Jonah chapter 4 verse 4. Then said the Lord, doest thou well to be angry? Are you doing the right thing by being angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city, and there made him a booth, and sat under in the shadow till he might see what would become of the city. Verse 6. And the Lord God prepared a gourd and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head, to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceeding glad of the gourd. But God prepared a worm when the morning arose the next day, and it smote the gourd, that it withered. And it came to pass, when the sun did arise, that God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished in himself to die, and said, it's better for me to die than to live. Hear the message. And God said to Jonah, doest thou well to be angry for the gourd? And he said, I do well to be angry, even unto death. Then said the Lord, thou hast had pity on the gourd, for the which thou hast not labored, neither madest it grow, which came up in a night, and perished in a night. And should not I spare Nineveh, that great city, wherein are more than 60,000 persons that cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much cattle. You see, Jonah chapter 4 closes up saying to us that God understands how the mercy game works better than anyone else. God creates a scenario where Jonah's receiving benefit from this massive leaf, this gourd. He's being shadowed by it, so the scorching heat does not destroy him. And in a night, a worm just destroys the whole gourd, so that in the morning, the sun beats upon him again and puts him in a position where he literally faints. And God goes and has a conversation with him and says, so you think it's right that this gourd is gone? You're angry again that the gourd is gone? What's your views on the gourd being gone? And Jonah says, yes, this gourd being gone is treacherous. Let me die. Why should that have happened to the gourd? And God says to him, well, look, the gourd showed up in the night. The gourd disappeared in the night. But what about the city of Nineveh? What about my city of Nineveh? The people, the humans, the purposes that are in Nineveh. All of the 6,000 people plus cattle. You think I should have just destroyed them all in an instant and had 6,000 plus people's purposes wiped out? That's not what I want to do. And guys, I want today, day 7, to be a sobering message to you, to understand that that's not what God wanted to do then. It's not what he wants to do now. God doesn't want your purpose to be derailed. God doesn't want you to be off purpose. He wants you to be living on purpose. And this is the reason we're doing these 14 days on purpose. You see, if you are resonating with anything that I've shared on today's video, or if you've resonated on one of the previous days' videos with the message that we've been sharing with you, what I want you to do is make a commitment to stay on this journey. Not just for day 7 and day 8. I want you to run with us all the way to day 14. I want you to make that commitment within yourself to engage with this content, similar to what I shared on the day 1 and the day before day 1's video. Where, guys, I want you to engage with this content so your purpose can be released and revealed from within you. And just like we spoke about Jonah meaning dove, this is the time for you to see that it's safe for you to change. It's safe for you to make that shift. It's safe for you to understand that the profits are not as important as your purpose. To understand that the payments that you may have been focusing on, chasing, are not as important as your purpose. To understand that all of the things that you may have been pursuing, according to Matthew chapter 13, verse 44, and Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, which we shared yesterday, are nowhere near as important as your purpose and God's plans for you. You see, Jonah came round in the end. God shared the message that helped Jonah understand that how can I be so angry about a flower being destroyed and not have anger when people's purposes will be derailed? Jonah was a walking, breathing purpose creator. Jonah allowed the people on the ship to engage with the real and true God because he helped them understand the gods you were interested in mean nothing. The religions you were focusing on are not helping you. In the midst of dramas in life, those gods are rendered useless. Because those gods only showed up because of what we read in Genesis with Eve and with the serpent. So they're useless. They're constructs of men's minds. They're not the same as the God who created the sea and the God who created the land and the God who created us. So guys, I want you to understand how powerful this stuff is, because God wants to change your life. God wants to take you to the next place in your purpose, a place of fulfillment, a place of purpose, a place where you're no longer focused on the answers, but you're focused on the question, why am I here? And I want to assure you that God can answer that question for you. So just as Jonah, his name means dove, I believe that Jonah is supposed to be the dove for you and I today. He's supposed to show us that now's the time for us to take the next step into our purpose. He's supposed to show us that it's okay to go back to God, to make the prayer similar to Jonah made when he was in the belly of that well. God, look, I'm going through a living hell, but I know if I come to you, things will be okay. So guys, I want to encourage you to make that commitment and decide that you're going to stay with us on this journey, but side by side with that, that you're going to live for your purpose, your true purpose that God created and intended you for. So with that being said, we're going to open up for Q&A. If there are specific questions, guys, throw those questions in the chat. Let me load up the chat right now and see what you guys are saying as well. Okay, I'm jumping into the chat. Let's see what's being said. All right, we got Mrs ICanWin early in the morning, says ready for another season session. Bevon Sanderson, saw your comment, wonderful and informative. And Mrs ICanWin says powerful and profitable, invest in our lives. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Guys, thank you for your comments on the stream so far. It is question and answer time. If you guys have questions, feel free to write your questions into the chat and let us know what your questions are. We'll be happy to engage with a few of the questions, if not all of them, depending on how many that come in, before we end this morning's live session, day 7 of your 14 days on purpose. Guys, I hope you've got value from today's session. You know, the heart of God is for you to achieve your purpose. The heart of God is for you to achieve your purpose. Okay? The heart of God is for you to achieve your purpose. So let's see what you guys have got to say in terms of the questions. What questions do you guys have, so we can actually focus on helping you answer those questions and shift forward in this journey which we're on with you. Okay, what questions do you guys have? All right. So one of the questions I've got here is, why is Jonah relevant to our pursuit of purpose? I think, you know, if you go through what we've shared already today, there are so many things that we can just, you know, extrapolate from Jonah's life in terms of his relevance to our purpose. First and foremost, Jonah's ability, once working on his purpose, telling these people, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, I'm running away from true God, how it unlocks the purpose of other people. That's the first thing. Your purpose, Jonah shows us that your purpose will unlock the purpose of other people. Okay, that's one thing that is extremely powerful. Your purpose, additionally, which is kind of embedded in that, will help other people understand the direction they're supposed to be going in. So that might not be their materialized purpose per se, but that will at least get them on the road. Okay, so very, very important things. Your purpose will help other people unlock their purpose, and your purpose also will help other people start to go along the right direction. So there are so many other things as well in terms of Jonah and his relevance to our pursuit of our purpose. Additionally, one of the powerful things we see throughout the story of Jonah, from Jonah chapter 1 all the way to Jonah chapter 4, is that God is merciful. He's willing to work with us on our purpose. God is willing to say, you know what, I forgive you. You've made a mistake. Let's get on the track again. Let's start working together again. God is willing to do that. And this is something that we learn and we actually pick up as we look at Jonah's experience and as we look at what Jonah went through in terms of his purpose. So again, that's another thing extremely important that we learn. All right. Cool. So I've got no questions. So with that being said, that means we're going to end our day 7 stream. Guys, those of you who have got value, we just want to say thank you for joining us, and obviously continue to do what you're doing. Stay with us for this journey. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's help you unlock your purpose so you can live that powerful life, achieving exactly what God has created you for, and also allowing other people to unlock their purpose when they see you as an example. With all of these things being said, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you on tomorrow's stream. Take care and goodbye. God bless, guys.